All right. What's up, everybody? My book was on Prozac Nation, or the book was Prozac Nation. And it's an autobiographical account of a young woman in America who deals with mental health issues. That's a general description. The subtitle of the book is Depressed in America. And this woman, her name's Elizabeth. She definitely has symptoms of depression throughout her story. Brief outline of her story is as I was reading this book, I was kind of looking at it like I was assessing a client, which I think was a good practice for social work. And so with her family history, let's start there. Her family and her psychiatric history. Her parents divorced when she was 15 years old. Father went off the grid for 4 years, and the story kind of picks back up as this young woman is attending college. She's attending Harvard School of Journalism on a journalism scholarship, and so the once estranged father kind of comes back into the scene. She's close with their mother, but they also have tons of relationship conflict, and she gets into college. And she starts experimenting with drugs. Drugs and alcohol increase. There's some substance use. Excuse me. And she she experiences some negative side effects from this. She has, the pressures through school. She gets this award from Rolling Stone and has to produce another article. And she goes into a psychotic episode, essentially, where she hasn't slept for 4 days. Her roommates are very concerned. She's just writing nonsense, and her friends take her to the hospital, kind of against her will. She's fighting, kicking, screaming, and she just has this disdain for the medical community. She says things like, "You better not effing refer me to therapy." She did have in her psychiatric history therapy at a younger age, but has negative feelings towards that. Doesn't feel like therapy will work for her. So as far as her relationships, she, throughout the book, dates a couple guys. And long story short, both of those relationships end because of symptoms of her mental illness. So while the book is called Depressed in America, Prozac Nation, Depressed in America, I saw features, psychotic features. I saw some borderline personality disorder, kind of like this all or nothing thinking, and I love you, don't leave me kind of dynamic with the people that she chose to date. And I saw some privilege in this person's story, in Elizabeth's story. Wrote about it a little bit in my post. The setting was in 1985. And throughout the whole story, there's just no mention of any people of color. It's just white people, a bunch of white people on the East Coast, and going to Harvard. There's a lot of privilege there. One of my takeaways, though, is that mental health, it still hits people just as hard, despite socioeconomic status and race and all that. It's the one thing that I want to note, though, is that this character had access to resources. She does end up seeking therapy. She does end up getting on medication, and she has access to those things, maybe because of her privilege. And that's just an important takeaway, I think. What else? What strengths did she have? She had, father came back into the scene, but that's kind of a rough relationship. Like, mother was there for her throughout her teenage years, into her college years, and kind of has that social capital. She has some friends, some roommates, her mother, boyfriends for periods of time that are apparently helpful to her for periods of time. She's also very resilient. The story's rough. It's a rough story, and she comes out alive, and not only that, like her improvement in mental health. And I don't know, some of the things that struck me from the story, the impact, the personal impact or reaction that I had is just the, Prozac kind of being painted as this miracle drug, which back then I think it probably was. I mean, I wasn't born in 1985, but probably was. Kind of newer on the market. Like, this is fixing everybody's depression. We can make a ton of money by doing this, some of these pharmaceutical companies. But I've always been inclined to look at the behavioral and the emotional aspects first before referring anyone to get in touch with medical staff to get on medication. And the book kind of describes that. It describes the negative impacts that can come from it. She talks about feeling like a zombie and like she's lost herself and she doesn't know who her new self is once some of those feelings and emotions are sedated. These are all her words. And so it's just interesting. Yeah, it's a good read. Learned some stuff from it. And glad to be at the end of the semester. Thanks.